Well, how's it going,
Fuck it,
everyone?
we'll do it live.
Yeah, fuck it. My name's John. I'm with Jagger.
What's up?
We're talking about basically the shittiest episode of, or the shittiest show I think we've ever seen in our lives, and I think it's going to go down as the shittiest show of all time. We're just excited and thrilled to be talking about this with you. And it's a little show called And Just Like That, a true shitter. Jagger, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Jagger. I feel like I want to preface by saying I never watched the original Sex and the City show. I've probably seen one episode. Having said that, I think that a reboot of a show ought to be it ought to hold up on its own without requiring the first show to make it
to make
okay.
To make people care basically at all. I mean, and I've seen some episodes of it. I've seen the movie like 2 times with women, basically, not of my own choice. But I'll tell you, it was nothing as nearly as bad.
So you watched it with women?
Yeah.
You watched it with women?
Never by myself.
Okay, I also watched it with a woman.
Yep. Never out of my own choice. But I can say firsthand that the old Sex and the City, or the original Sex and the City, not as bad, not nearly as bad. It was well structured, had a story, had a plot, had music. But yeah, I mean, and I think the reason
we'll get more into that later.
Yeah. But the reason we're shitting on this show in particular is because a lot of money. We're talking about a big budget for this piece of crap, and it could have went into something worthwhile or a decent story, something to contribute to society. But this was just a true piece of shit from beginning to end.
Yeah, man. I feel like all the budget just went to them renting space in expensive high-rise apartments to film like useless scenes. And to pay the actors, I guess.
Yeah, it was basically like, look how rich we are, like the show. And so let's go into a little bit of our background. So my background is I own a video production company. I have a background in cinematography. I even made a movie. And when I watch shows, I'm typically looking for direction, soundtracking, color correction, and just the overall plot and where it's going.
Sure, yeah. I guess when I watch stuff, I don't have a very what's the word, like segmented way that I watch things. Like, I'm not thinking about things separately. I usually I kind of see things as like, is it all working together? If so, good. Like, I'm enjoying this. If there's something really wrong, I can tell, but I'm no expert or anything. I'm just a hobbyist, I own a laptop.
Yeah, I mean, but I'll tell you what, both of us, regardless of our expertise, we've seen shows before. We know what a good show looks like, okay? And this is the opposite. Everything you look for in a show, you're going to see the opposite of that in this show. So should we get started? Should we start talking about this piece of shit?
Yeah, I think we should talk about the first scene.
I even wrote a quote from the first scene down. The first line of the show.
Oh, yeah. Oh my God.
The first line of the show. It opens with a COVID reference because, who doesn't want to talk about that? Who doesn't want to remember that? When I watch a show, I want to escape. And, I want to escape with more COVID references. So let's get this quote out. It's, do we hug or bump elbows? Sign language? Smoke signals? What are we doing these days?
That's a great way, like, starting off very, very topical. They're off to a great start in terms of, making a lasting piece of work.
Yeah,
instead of just like flavor of the moment type of thing,
It's just gonna guarantee that this show stays a piece of shit for years to come. Not only now, but in like 10 years or 20 years, if someone watched this show, they'd be like, "Wow, what a reference!" I'm gonna have to,
Yeah, it's like if you referenced like the Astro World Fest tragedy in a rap song or something, like 10 years down the line, someone's gonna listen to that and be like, oh yeah, that thing. That's
You know,
right. That's right.
I wouldn't be shocked if, like, because like all the episodes aren't out yet, and I don't know when they filmed this, but I wouldn't be shocked if they did reference the Astroworld tragedy. If like one of the main characters died,
Dude,
that girl's kid went
that's
to
the
the
reference
concert,
I'm waiting for.
like the sex addicted kid
my
or whatever,
God.
the one fucking in that bedroom.
He's gonna like be in the ICU because he went to Astro World Fest. Oh, Jesus Christ!
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
Honestly, that would be an interesting plot switch. I would actually be excited for that.
That would be really nice. Actually, it would That's like it would be a nice vacation from the monotony.
The constant.
Yeah, back to the first scene. So it starts off, and I remember it had like that, I don't know what genre of music that is that they used all in the first show or whatever, like bossa nova or something, or like, you know, something along those lines. And the show starts off with some music like that. But it never does anything like that again. They like really tried to go for something very different here. Very,
very
I'm not going to say.
Almost.
Yeah, it is quite. It really tests your patience. This one, like you gotta. Almost like when you listen to a tough album, you got to give it probably 6 or 7 listens. I'd say you got to watch episode 1 probably 6 or 7 times before you're ready to continue forward.
Yeah, I mean, there's just in the first scene itself, there's so much dialogue. Like their scene at the restaurant or whatever when they open it. It doesn't end. It feels like it never ends. It's 5 minutes of hell, and there's so many fucking camera cuts at the like. I counted like I think there were 12, and then I lost count. But like the first like 12 seconds, just camera cut, camera cut, camera. It's like goddamn, pick a fucking angle.
Yeah, dude. It was like who's the director of Gladiator? Who directed that?
I don't know.
Was it Ridley? No. Fuck, whoever it was. You know how in that movie every action scene you have no idea what's going on because it's like cutting. It's like if Tarantino, and it's in like the style of a Tarantino and Gladiator baby, like love child.
Yeah, it was Ridley Scott.
Ridley Scott. Okay, yeah, that's right. It's if Tarantino's long dialogue scenes and Ridley Scott's obnoxious camera cuts had a child.
It's so bad, and the dialogue's not holding up without like there's just no music. It just reminds me of the Catwoman basketball scene. Like that's my reference for it. I mean, it's just bad.
Oh, is that the with the Jennifer Lopez, right?
No, Halle Berry.
Oh shit. Yeah, okay. I know what you're talking about. And yeah, like I was thinking about it. I was thinking like I wish I could just see the dialogue like on paper and just read it. Cause I feel like if somebody presented that script to me, I would be like, this is the worst shit I've ever read in my entire life. Is this real?
I wrote a lot
like,
of
did you get this off DeviantArt or some shit or whatever?
Bro, the stuff on DeviantArt would be way better than whatever this piece of crap is.
That's honestly true. Like they could come up with some crazy shit and it'd probably be pretty true to the original show. And I don't know if this one is.
And like I wrote down some of the quotes in the first scene because I was so upset. Like on my first watch, I was so annoyed. It was so bad. No music, garbage. Mm-hmm. But like some of the way they say things, it doesn't make any sense. Like for example, when they're like, "Where's Samantha?" and she's like, "Oh, she's no longer with us." And then they get to, "Oh, she's in London." Why wouldn't you just say she's in London initially instead of saying someone's no longer with you? Just to use it as a COVID joke reference that she's dead.
Oh, dang. Yeah, that didn't even occur to me. I thought that it was just like some dumb joke that like had nothing to do with anything. Like they were just trying to squeeze a gag in there like it's iCarly or some shit. But yeah, that makes sense. I didn't even realize that. But yeah, it's terrible. Like the way they say shit makes no sense. Almost everything. It makes no sense. And it's like the way that they speak is like an instrument that the writer's using to like lead into a joke.
Yeah,
like and it's always like leading into a misunderstanding. Like somebody says something and then the other person's like, wait, what? Almost like in Always Sunny. When like that's a lot of the jokes in that show are just somebody says something and then all the other characters are like, what did you just say? And like it's the thing about that. It's like, but it's just not funny.
Yeah, because there's no
the difference
fucking
is it's just not funny.
punchline. There's no like actual joke. It's just more dialogue afterwards. They're just using it to make more dumb dialogue. It's like so repetitive.
Yeah. And like the shit that they were talking about, they were like the way they were doing exposition, man, like they were like whole scenes of just dialogue exposition. What's that?
When she starts talking about her son's semen at the table and then talks about French fries.
Almost first thing, dude, Miranda is my least favorite character in the whole show.
The one with the white hair?
Yeah, she's so cringe, dude.
The one with the black hair for me, what's her name?
Okay, I don't remember. I don't even know.
It doesn't matter. We don't need to know their fucking names. The show stinks.
Yeah. They're all terrible. Like, all the characters.
We haven't even got started.
Likable.
We've only talked about the first, 5 minutes so far. There's so many more layers to how bad this episode was.
Dude, this shit gets really funny later on. Like, there's some really funny moments.
Oh my.
Some really uncomfortable, just, jaw-dropping, just horrible writing and awkward cameras and no music. It's all just voices, and it's you sit there and it just feels awkward. Like you start to feel uncomfortable because the show is so uncomfortable. It's despite how bad it really is an experience to watch this shit.
It's test your patience. It truly tests you as a human being. I don't know. I think I'd rather be in solitary for a day than be forced to watch the show for a day.
Honestly, yeah. The thing is, it's. I feel like it's one of those things that it's not so bad that it's good, but it's so bad that
it's interesting.
It's almost It's fascinating. It's sort of fascinating. But yeah, so after the first couple scenes, they kind of establish, okay, they're old ladies now, they have grown children and stuff, and they're dealing with old lady shit, which is great. I mean,
love it. Love to talk about it. They're like, give me a medal for aging. That was one of the lines.
Give me a medal for aging. Yeah, and then they there's these little subplots going on, kind of Miranda's going to school, and I guess I don't know, is that the only subplot? I feel like the rest of it is just there's the music recital.
Let me see. The son's semen was like a subplot into her kid.
Oh, that's another one. Okay.
What else is there? That girl's bullshit piano recital.
I feel like we're having a hard time remembering because most of the shit that's going on.
Well, it was just endless dialogue.
It hasn't tied in any ways. They
never stop fucking talking, and there's no music, so there's nothing to keep the audience oh, well, let's see what they have to say. There's just bullshit conversations. For the first, we're still talking about basically the first conversation in the whole fucking show. She's like, oh, you should change your hair red, and it's and then they argue about this, and it's who gives a fuck? Really, who gives a fuck if her hair is gray or red? I don't know. I mean,
I will say, there was at least one moment in this episode that I actually found funny, that was genuinely made me laugh a little bit. There was one moment, unironically, it was just a little funny bit from one of the characters, but it made me laugh. Having said that, that's the only moment. The rest of the laughter was out of confusion and sort of just the audacity, or not the audacity, but it almost am I in the real world? Is this an alternate universe where this show got made and it's the most popular show on HBO Max right now and shit like that?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And even before we get to like the later scene, I want to point out, like, Samantha was supposed to be one of their best friends, and they basically killed her off in the show because what they say is she never calls and texts them back for like over a year or something.
Yeah.
Just because she got fired as like how fucked up is that? Like your supposed best friend won't talk to any of you guys because one of them fired her as a publicist. Like, what the fuck?
And I guess like, I don't know that character from the original show well. Maybe that's what she actually would have done. I don't know.
I mean, it just your best friend.
Either way, the way they explained it, it was they just killed her off with dialogue.
Yeah.
and I'm like, so you're watching and you're like, okay, that person is not in the show. Okay. Because they're just like talking about the person. Yeah.
They talk about her like they killed her, like they murdered her.
The way that they set up the whole show and like do most of the exposition is very awkward with this awkward dialogue and stuff like that. So
it's almost. So that
dude,
was the
honestly,
first...
it is very experimental.
Yeah,
it's very experimental.
It's crazy.
Like they whoever, like, the people working on this show were confident because they didn't try to pad it with with comedy and laughter or like music or like sound effects or things that normal shows have. They were like, we don't need that because the dialogue speaks for itself, the cinematography speaks for itself. And in that regard, I have to take my hat off to the showrunners for having the audacity. Back to the audacity. They had a hell of a lot of audacity, dude.
I mean, you could say it was a bit of overconfidence almost, because it was, Jesus, like, relying on this shitty dialogue, just unbelievable.
Yeah.
I actually kept track. I believe that we got 12 minutes in before a song came on, and they really heavily talked about it too, because they're like, oh, play me my favorite album, honey. And then he's like, oh, Todd Rundgren. So they finally say Todd Rundgren is here. I was like, oh, thank God for Todd Rundgren here to save the fucking day with some music from this endless dialogue. Yeah. But
but then
then they sing the whole song
for an awkwardly long period of time.
It was,
and it's supposed to like endear you to the characters and like, oh, they have such a cute relationship, like they do cute stuff together. But I was just like, ugh.
Yeah,
I was just cringing. I wasn't endeared to the characters.
So
I was annoyed. I felt like, wow, I would hate to be there.
I was like, I feel uncomfortable watching this, like, here. Like, I know I'm not in that room, but I feel like I'm in that room just cringing and just like fucking wanting to kill myself.
Yeah, dude, I feel like that's like what a 10-year-old girl's idea of like a relationship is. Like, that's like a 10-year-old girl's like relationship fantasy of like, oh, they're drinking wine and they're cooking fish and they're like listening to LPs, like they do that every night. And it's, I don't know, dude, it's just like I
just the way they introduce it too. It's like, play my favorite album, and she's like, oh, all your albums are your favorites, ha ha ha. And I'm like,
like not a great way to get to know the characters. Yeah, like they're trying to give you little like details about the characters, like, oh, they're kind of quirky, like this character's kind of quirky because they do this, and I'm just like, wow, I hate that about them.
Oh my god. Do you want to talk more about this scene, or should we get to the next one?
No, yeah, let's move forward.
Okay, because the next scene is my favorite probably in the whole show. When they start playing some fucking awesome trap music, completely out of place. And she
out of nowhere.
they hit you with that shit.
It's fucking Miranda, like walking out of the subway smiling. She looks like she has no idea where she is. Just like content and carefree. And it's just like like some like hip hop podcast music that in the intro or some shit.
Oh yeah. It was fucking.
And it's
sick.
just like there's like it shows her looking at a sign or something.
It was for
and it's
Smith's
like
bar.
the music's playing, and you're just like, it's like just showing her looking at the sign, and like for an uncomfortable amount of time still, and all you have like as far as stimulation, because nothing's really happening on screen, is this trap song playing like over the top of everything, and you're just like, what is happening, man? I'm confused. And like that part was really funny. That might be my favorite part of the whole episode.
Yeah,
like that is the most perplexing shit of the entire thing.
And it was basically just showing her being a Karen because she went to the bar and they're like, we're not open. And she's like, I'll wait.
Yeah, it's showing like, okay, she's an alcoholic and she's a Karen. And that's it. But yeah, I don't really know what else to say about that shit. Like that was fucking, it was great. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically how they introduced Miranda's like scenes coming up, which were, so bad.
Yeah. Oh my God, they were terrible. Can I say though, like it almost feels like one person edited the first 20% of the episode, then another person edited the second 20%, and so on and so forth. Like they chose the music for the second 20% and blah blah blah. Like there was no stylistic continuity, at least in terms of the music.
I mean, if you want a little bit of trivia, actually, 6 editors killed themselves in between the shoots, so that's why it all looks different.
What?
No, I was joking, but I could see it.
Oh, yeah, I could see it too. I almost believed you. I was like, there's no fucking way. Holy shit.
6 of them, not just 2, like 6 dudes were like, I can't take it.
The entire editing staff off themselves halfway through the final cut.
Oh man. Anyways,
but like moving forward. So the next part is when she's like going to school, right? That's what it is.
The cringe scene with that professor.
Yeah, they really like. So they got very topical with the COVID thing.
And also like
and they also pronouns. Got in this scene they went way over woke.
Yeah. They over woke. Honestly, from this scene going forward, they were like, "Oh, woke is a cool thing now. Let's just make the whole show about that." And they just hyped the fuck out of that. Like that's pretty much all they focused on. That was pretty much the main dialogue. Every scene was just cringeworthy. Just about wokeness. Like she gets in the professor's room, she immediately uses a pronoun.
Yeah, so first she thinks that the black professor isn't the professor. And then everyone's like, "Whoa." And then she's like, "No, she told me that's where the professor sits or something." And then the girl's like, "Oh, quick to use pronouns, are we?" And like they wrote the script to have her break every like politically correct rule all at once.
Yeah.
And it's just this super like wacky, just insane moment where she just keeps like incriminating herself and saying worse and worse shit by accident.
Yeah. I wrote down some of the dialogue if you want to listen again.
Yeah, let me hear it.
Okay, this is the black cringe dialogue we're talking about. My comment had nothing to do with your braids being a black hairstyle. They just didn't look like you in the Columbia website photo. I knew that you were black when I signed up for this class. That was important to me. Who talks like that? Who fucking talks like that?
That was important to me. It was important to me that you were black. And then the lady even says, like, you took this class because I'm black?
Yeah.
And she was like, wait, no, I didn't mean that. Like, no, wait. It's like, come on.
But they keep it going,
Miranda,
man.
You're racist as fuck.
Because after that, she says, God, I sound like such a brown nose.
Oh, my God.
It's just like, how is this lawyer who's like supposed to be smart and from the original show, and basically they rewrote her to be so out of touch and unable to read the fucking room, like at a point it's just crazy.
That's what I was thinking at this point in the show too. I was thinking like, is this how she was in the original show? Is this how she was?
No, I mean, I don't think so. I mean, they never. I didn't see any scenes of her actually being a lawyer, but like.
Yeah, I mean, to me, just feel like there was no way she was like this. I feel like they just appropriated her character to turn her into like a clown to make this scene about like woke culture.
It was just
like they had an agenda of like topical things they had to check off, and they just completely sacrificed like what their original characters were like, and use them as tools to tackle these items on their quota for
it honestly felt like
issues.
they're playing like woke bingo and just checking them off.
yeah, that's a great way to say it. So yeah, that scene was the hardest part of the entire episode to watch for me. It made me really uncomfortable.
Yeah, and then it was really bad. I mean, honestly, this is so like it was so uncomfortable that I get cringe just talking about it. And then what follows it, like we followed up with more. You're like, oh, they're like that wokeness wasn't enough. We got to increase the woke here with the X, Y, and Me podcast, which is
oh shit, yeah.
That's the scene immediately following, and that's the blonde girls. What's her name? Carrie, I think.
Yeah, Carrie, the main character, right?
So she's supposed to be like a host or something on that podcast. And it's a podcast.
She's the cis female host.
Yeah, and
then there's an Asian guy. He's the cis male host.
Yeah, and then
and then this very like butch lesbian who's like representing the queer community and shit.
Yeah, I didn't know, but
like, and so far this all sounds fine, but just when the dialogue starts,
yeah. It's just like, here's the thing, okay? So first, we should get to this first. I mean, the podcast, they specifically say, they're like, this is a podcast about gender roles, sexual roles, and cinnamon rolls. That was the way they opened it.
Yeah.
Okay, so knowing that, before we get into it, I just want to say, this show has a horrible, horrible habit of whenever they introduce a character and they have, like, any woke element about them, they just make the most stereotypical version of that character, and they express it to the fullest. Like if they have a gay character, they'll make them super gay. If they have this, what was her name? I
don't know what her name was.
The other host on the podcast, I forgot their name. They just made it all they talk about is their the most stereotypical shit. Like it was the writers just full of themselves in the writing room, just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, it was like the straight male host of the podcast. He was like, I fucking jerk off in public, man. Like I love to masturbate, man. And then yeah, like I was like, God damn, this is like they're breaking gender all the way down. I guess that's like the foundation of being a straight man, is you just want to fucking jerk off all the time, brother.
What the fuck was that?
And like in front of people, like in public, they're like, where have you not jerked off in public? Nowhere. And it's like
and they were all losing, they were all laughing at that, and I was like, this is so fucking weird. Who laughs? Who's like, oh, I masturbate everywhere? Like, what the fuck?
And then like it doesn't like the male character immediately asks the straight female host. He's immediately like, so what do you think about anal? It's just like it's just so ridiculous. It's fucking hilarious.
When they play the woke moment sound effect, I lost it. That was the funniest fucking part of the show for me, because it was so bad.
Woke moment. And she did it right after she like just said some shit about how she's like gay, and like I don't know, dude. It's like I don't know.
Okay.
I wish I had it up and we could like watch it again right now, because there's something like, honestly, if this show is nothing else, it's very timely.
Yeah.
I feel like like
this show's not going to hold up like in a year from now. I'll tell you that. It doesn't hold up now, but topically.
Good
it's not
Lord,
gonna
I hope
hold
it
up.
doesn't hold up in a year from now. Yeah. But yeah, that scene is like, that shit's crazy, man. The audacity.
Yeah, I mean,
And then yeah, what happens after this scene? Like, she gets confronted because she's not lewd enough.
well, they
right,
ask her,
in the
they're like,
elevator.
"Do you like to masturbate?" And she's literally on the sex podcast. She's a host, which I
Yeah.
expressed before. You know, I said that before. And she basically dodges. She's like, and like,
And it's so uncomfortable the way she does it. It's
Yeah.
like, Jesus Christ. They didn't vet her a little bit more about this shit before she came on.
yeah, they're like, "You were so good in the interviews," and she's like, "Oh, well, that was just interview talk." So what?
It's like, wow, you just said that to your boss?
Yeah.
Like, imagine you said that to your boss. You're like, you performed so well in your evaluation and in your interview. And it's like, oh, well, I was just trying harder because it was an interview. It's like, I'm not actually that good.
Yeah. Ugh. And it's just, and then as the I forgot what the main host, the Butch lady, I don't know. I guess they're trying to go
remember.
for Butch anyway.
Yeah.
They're like, well, didn't you used to like write about sex? Because in the show, in Sex and the City, she did. That was all she did, basically. She had the sex column in the fucking newspaper. So she can't even answer if she likes to masturbate. I mean, you're on a sex podcast. What the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, what, you turn into an old lady and suddenly, I don't know. Okay, oh shit, I just remembered the next scene though. Oh my God. So yeah, that whole podcast thing, it almost makes sense in my head. Like, oh, okay, like that's what she did when she was younger, and now she's like on a podcast. Like, all right, she's like with the time, she's like keeping up. But at the same time, she's having a hard time keeping up with the young folks and whatnot. In terms of story, that kind of makes sense. I'm like, okay, that like, I feel like that computes. But then they just write the worst fucking dialogue of all time.
Yeah. They could have
And
asked
it
you-
ruins like any good idea they might have had. It's ruined.
Yeah, because I get like that's what they were going for, but you could have asked something deeper than, "Do you like to masturbate?" Like,
Well, I represent me and my men, the male community. I love to jerk off in public.
I can't stop
And that's
myself
about
from jerking
it.
it in public.
Yeah, really crazy stuff. I feel like the writers were having maybe a mental block.
I feel like the writers were
They had some
JOing
sort
in
of
the
mental
fucking
block.
room when they came up with that. They were so proud of
Yeah,
themselves.
yeah, they were jerking themselves off in the writing booth. They're like, wow, we fucking killed this. Like, everyone's gonna love this. We really captured these characters. And it's like, wow, your understanding of people, like, this is not how people talk. There's no person like any of these people.
No, yeah, the whole time I was watching the show, I was like, nobody's ever talked like this in their entire lives. I've never seen this, like, anything close. Like, it's just unbelievably, like, horribly written.
Really bad.
Yeah. Anyways, I feel like we've covered the podcast. Do you
Yeah,
wanna-
let's move forward
Yeah. So the next scene,
to the next scene. I feel
Miranda-
like I think I know this one.
talking to the law
Oh.
professor, and there's like a homeless man. I don't know if you saw homeless, but he's playing music, like a street performer, playing music like behind her on the subway, and they're having this conversation, and it's so cringe. You want to talk about this one?
Well, from what I remember of this scene, it's like, yeah, the professor, and I guess this is just some side plot that's going to grow as the show goes on or something, but the professor's like talking on the phone with her husband about IVF. Like they're trying to do in vitro fertilization or something. And then she walks down into the subway and Miranda, the most fucking annoying person on the planet, is there. So she has to hang up. And then she comes over and I guess redeems herself for all the shit that she said in the classroom. But she's still like annoying as fuck.
Yeah.
If I was that professor, I'd be like, please go away.
Yeah, it's like, and the
I don't
way
wanna talk
she
to you.
looks at her too, like the creepy look she gives. It's like they make
Yeah, she's
us.
like staring.
It's like a horror movie. It's like they want us to hate this character and be terrified because whenever she comes up on the screen, she's gonna say some bullshit woke failure basically, and it's just gonna be cringeworthy.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know what else to say about that scene. I feel like it was just...
My favorite part was I thought it was really funny how the professor couldn't like understand a single word that Miranda was saying, like because their excuse was that the music was so loud. But it's not like this dude. This dude had a guitar. He didn't have a fucking PA system, on the fucking subway. I mean, it wasn't that loud. It was an acoustic set. Anyways,
I thought it was an electric guitar. I feel like he was playing with an amp or something.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, I don't know. Either way, another bad scene. So wait, when do we get to the jerk off scene?
Oh well, after this, it goes back to the podcast, and the Bush characters like telling Carrie, you need to step your pussy up, basically.
Oh right, yeah.
You're not doing good. So fresh up on your masturbation talk, basically. So then Carrie goes home.
Right, yeah.
And Carrie's
her solution is she could... Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go. You tell it.
Yeah, so like her boss at the podcast is like, you need to step your pussy up and you need to like be more comfortable talking about masturbation and anal. And so she goes home to her husband and she's like, I want to watch you masturbate. And like,
yeah, she starts writing stuff.
She
starts writing stuff on her computer and she's like, this isn't working. Mr. Big, can you masturbate for me?
And what proceeds is the weirdest, maybe the weirdest fucking scene I've seen in a very long time. The guy, like, the angles are so strange, like, that they get of him, and, like, he's apparently masturbating, but he's, like, he's just making these faces and these noises, and it does it for what feels like such a long time. It was probably, like... 30 seconds.
No, I didn't know. It felt like a minute. It had to be at least a minute. It felt like 20 minutes, honestly. It felt like 5 hours.
This is like what we're talking about when we say this is experimental, because that challenged me.
Yeah.
It was challenging to watch that.
That was the most awful scene. That was the most uncomfortable I've ever felt watching anything, And
he's making all kinds of faces like and she's just
looking at
again, like it's too like intimate. Like the cuts are like straight zoomed in on her face watching, and she's all smiling. And, like,
it's so fucking weird. It's such a weird dynamic to show, and then just the shot. I like the shot of her shoulder basically covering his dick, so you just see his face. Like you just see him making faces, and she's like, "Pretend, do it like I'm not here."
It's so weird. Like, again, it's like they're trying to like make these characters seem endearing and like, oh, they're so weird together and like so open together. But it's just like, what the fuck are they doing, man? I'm uncomfortable. I wasn't supposed to see that.
This is the worst scene by far in the episode. I think.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there are probably a few that you could put up there. I feel like the three like front runners are this scene, the masturbation scene, the podcast scene, and the classroom scene.
Yeah.
All really horrible, like hard to watch. And dude, honestly, this was the masturbation scene is my favorite scene. I really think like they pushed themselves to the limit with this scene. Like,
honestly, I'm surprised they didn't show his dick. Honestly, at this rate, I mean, I could have seen them doing it, like with how fucked up this show's been, just absolutely ridiculous. And was it also the episode where her son is fucking that girl like in the room next to them, or was that? I think that was episode 2. I'm not sure.
I think that was in the second episode.
Oh, okay.
But
we'll talk about that next time.
Yeah, like they paint these characters, or okay, I guess Miranda specifically is the worst fucking character of all time in this new show. Like the way that she handles her situation with her children, like she needs to kick a little ass. She needs to beat her son's ass for the way that he
Yeah.
that he disrespects her. She just doesn't do anything. She's like, oh, my son's having sex and I don't know what to do. And I feel like I want to let him do what he wants. He needs to have freedom. But then he's like talking about, I will not be sex shamed by you, mother.
Yeah, that was in this episode.
I would fucking turn around and catch a case on that child. I would catch a case.
They just made her such a fucking pushover, and they made her like...
It's like she has no self-respect, and it just makes you like not like her.
Yeah.
Makes you not like her. She's like, she's so annoying. She's such a pushover, and it's just like, why do I care about this character? There's nothing compelling about her character.
Nothing.
There's like no redeeming qualities.
Yeah, so far in the show, all she's done is talk about her son's semen. That was the first scene. Then be really fucking racist and fucked up at her own class. And then I mean, just gross.
And like be an alcoholic too. Like she's an alcoholic.
Is that canon?
I feel like that's what they're trying to hint at. Like she's always walking into the bar and like, I don't know about in like the original show or anything. I feel like that's what they've tried to establish with this new one anyways. She's always walking into a bar trying to get a drink like at 3 p.m. or some shit.
I think it was 11 a.m.
Oh yeah. Well, there you go. So Miranda's character aside.
Anyways, so the next scene's like Carrie's. They're like, she gets invited to the Black Hair Girls kids piano recital or whatever, and she's like, oh, I know if I can go because Big wants to go to some vacation. It's bullshit. Nobody cares. Doesn't matter. And whatever. Anyways, they all end up going, and they introduce some new characters. They introduce this gay couple, and it's bad. I mean, it's some bad dialogue. I mean, they had this one gay character whose only role in the show is arguing with his boyfriend and then scrolling through Grindr. That's all he does in this episode.
Okay, and I like the moment I was talking about earlier where I genuinely had a laugh at something that happened is when he was scrolling through Grindr and he was Carrie was watching him and he was like not hot and he like swiped left and then Carrie was like, whoa, that one, what did she say? She was like, that one could beat the shit out of you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he looks like he could kill you. And then he's like, hot. And then he swipes right. That's like the only unironic laugh that I had in the whole episode. I found that funny. But yeah, I guess... Look, people are gonna say like, oh, you didn't watch the original show. You can't fucking talk shit about the new shows that you didn't watch the original. You don't even know who the characters are. Look, this is one of the worst shows of all time.
I think it's the worst show.
You don't need to watch the first show to know this is the worst show of all time. Now, maybe we don't know the characters. Maybe the characters were kind of like this in the original show. But if they were exactly like this in the original show... Look, they weren't. They just weren't.
There's no way. Yeah, it wouldn't have gone on for 8 seasons.
Yeah.
We know they weren't like this because the woke culture bullshit. It's like they didn't write about that back in. I mean, I've seen a lot of them, and it wasn't like that. It wasn't like this. I'll say that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The characters have morphed into like just tools to.
I think they're the worst versions of themselves.
Oh shit. Yeah. They're like using their worst qualities against them in the writing room. And it's like, I don't know, man. There have been like really bad reboots of shit before.
Not like this.
This one is just like, it just seems so fucking weird and like fan fiction and like amateur, dude. I don't even know. This was the first thing that the writer ever wrote in their whole life.
No, and then you know what the fucked up part was? They were like advertising the episode of like a writer's room episode, and they're doing this for every episode, I guess. they're making like a separate writers' room dialogue thing where they all talk about the making of each episode, and it's like a 50-minute fucking episode. I got through like 10 minutes and I was like, ugh. But it's all the same people, so.
So wait, it's like the actors or it's the writers?
The writers.
Huh. And like, what did they have to say for themselves?
I got through 10 minutes, but they were just saying like, "Oh, we were so lucky to be able to like to show these characters in a new light with the new culture and everything," and it was just bad. I mean,
like they should be ashamed of themselves, honestly.
Yeah.
It was a botched job, dude. They fucking botched it.
They fucking shit the bed on this one.
I'm glad you got the gig, but you really screwed the pooch on this one.
So the last couple scenes we should so anyways, back to the concert, right?
Yeah.
So this is the part where Miranda's kid is basically during the concert he's making out like in a public setting with his girlfriend, like really getting into it. Like honestly, like they went like I don't know if they were acting, man. Like they went really into it. It was fucking crazy.
Yeah, it was uncomfortable. Like they're right behind. He's right behind his mom, and he's like. Yeah.
Can you imagine just making out with the girl right behind your mom and then telling your mom, "We will not be sex shamed"?
Mom, I'm gonna fuck my girlfriend later. What do you think about that, huh, Mom?
I'm gonna fuck her right now. I'm gonna finger her during the recital.
What if we fuck right now? What if we fuck right in the middle of this piano recital? What everybody start fucking?
Oh my god. Ugh. Anyways, so then the girl's playing piano.
That was an awkward moment.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I forgot this other subplot. We forgot to mention they met this other woman, LTW or whatever, early at the coffee place. Anyway, her kid performs first, and he just bombs it.
Oh, and he's really shitty.
Yeah,
he's terrible.
It was just weird why they put that in. I don't know why they did. I don't know what the point of that character is, but they made a big deal out of the stepmom being upset.
Yeah, I don't know why any of that was relevant either. I guess just like anytime there's a recital scene in a show, there always has to be someone who's really, really bad, and then everyone in the audience is like, it shows all their faces, and then they're like cringing at it. Like there always has to be that before the really good person goes on.
Yeah, it's another classic trope.
And then the lady's Asian daughter goes up and she just fucking kills it.
Yeah,
and it's okay. So
she kills it, but let me just say they did so many camera cuts and angles of that piano. It made me feel gross.
Ridley Scott, dude. They had Ridley Scott back there.
What were you gonna say?
Yeah, so there's like the whole. I guess it's almost its own subplot of the. Fuck, what is his bike machine called?
Peloton.
Right, yeah, his Peloton, and like there's like the hot big-breasted woman that he watches while he rides his bike. Yeah. Like they're talking about him riding his exercise bike for the entire episode. Mm-hmm. Like it's referenced. Like there's probably like 15. Yeah, there's probably like 16 scenes or something in this episode, and it's referenced in probably 5 scenes that he's gonna like. It's this big thing like, oh, I'm gonna ride my bike tonight. Like he's a fucking 3rd grader. He's like, I'm gonna ride my bike later. It's like, dude, it's just so weird. They just wouldn't stop talking about him riding his bike, and I know that's like because it becomes important in the last scene or whatever, but I don't know, like using this Peloton exercise bike as like such an important plot element is just weird.
It was so
it's really weird
because he kept using her name, and then
and
then she was like, "Oh, have a fun time with what's her name? I forgot.
With your whore exercise bike, lady."
Yeah. And
But yeah, and they did he's finally on his exercise bike that they've been talking about for the entire episode, and they're finally at the recital that they've been talking about for the whole episode. And it's like these reverse cuts jumping back and forth between like between this Asian girl like just absolutely murdering some like classical piano piece, and then like it jumps between that and him riding his Peloton exercise bike, and it's supposed to be all epic, like he's like yeah. And it shows, there's like this one part where it shows him looking at the screen, and it's the big breasted like Hispanic woman that he watches, like that trains him on his bike, and she's talking to him like, hey, I'm so and so, welcome to the exercise program, and he's just like smiling all big. He looks like a fucking creep. He's like, yeah. I thought he was gonna start masturbating while he was on the bike. Straight up, I legitimately thought that like the first masturbation scene was foreshadowing to that. That's how crazy this show is.
That would have been...
I thought that was going to happen.
Honestly, like, yeah, you thought he was just going to whip his dick out and keep biking?
Yeah. I thought that's what was going to happen. But anyways, yeah, so it's like the recital, he's playing the piano, he's on his bike, and then
he's making a weird face, John? Too. Can we talk about the faces he makes during this bike?
He made a lot of weird faces in this episode. I wonder if the faces thing was in the first show. Like, he made a lot of weird faces while he was masturbating and while he was riding on his Peloton exercise bike.
Just weird. It was just gross. It made you feel uncomfortable. Like, the way he rode that bike really made you feel like I've never been more uncomfortable doing someone else's workout.
Yeah, I mean, he's just exercising, but for some reason he's made it all fucking sexual.
Yeah.
And I guess that gets him pumped up, and he works a little harder. So good for him. But again, I just didn't need to see that, man. I just didn't need to see that. Like,
do you want to talk about the next scene?
So yeah, his fucking blood's pumping to his fucking ED penis, and he straight up has a heart attack from riding his exercise bike and getting all shisty with the Hispanic bike lady. He has a stroke or a heart attack.
No, he has a heart attack, and it was some of the worst acting or worst. Maybe someone directed him to do this. Maybe he just thought this is how people have heart attacks. But it was the worst shit I've ever seen. Like, I've never seen someone have a heart attack, but I know it's not like this.
He was just acting normal. Like, he was acting normal and just holding his shoulder.
Yeah, it was just he was grabbing his shoulder and holding his arm. It's like, do you know that's not where your heart is, dumbass? Like, your heart isn't in your fucking shoulder.
Yeah, he looked like he was walking through a door and he just bumped the side of the door by accident. Oh, and he was like, whoa. Oh.
It was just fucking crazy. And then he falls over basically because he's like trying to send a message, drops his phone, and he's like right next to the phone. And then he's just there. He's just holding his shoulder, moving his arms, just there, laying on the ground. And then his wife. Yeah.
He has the heart attack right as the girl plays the final note on the symphony at the recital. It's all like synced up.
Yeah, it was bad. The cuts, they had so many cuts and angle. It was so bad. It was annoying. Mm-hmm. And
but then like Carrie goes home and he manages to stay alive just long enough for her to witness his death.
Yeah. It's like he could have got the phone by that, because that drive was
just 30. Funny. Like, he doesn't say anything to her. He doesn't say anything to her. He just looks at her and like dies. It's like damn, that's really traumatizing. But
they just look at each other without saying anything. It was some of the worst acting I've seen from everybody involved in that death.
And okay, they treated like they just stared at each other. Like, he was on the ground, like holding his shoulder after he had his heart attack, and she had just walked in the bathroom and saw him, and they stood there just looking at each other for probably, I want to say, like, it was probably like only like 15 seconds, but it felt a lot longer than that. And the writers and the directors like took that as being like, now it's suspenseful, because we made you watch them look at each other for a long time before they did anything. That's just like you see, she sees her husband there and she just stands there looking at him for like 30 seconds before she does shit.
Yeah, he's like, they're just like they're doing the longest yard stare at each other, and it's like this man, like your husband's on the fucking floor, holding his shoulder. And she just like, it's like immediately she's like, oh, he must be dying. So then the death,
that 30 seconds could have made the difference. What if maybe she could have saved him? If she hadn't stood there just looking at him for so long.
Maybe he could have fucking saved himself waiting 30 minutes. I mean, it probably took, let's say it took about 15 minutes to get home. This man's just on the, and he can move his arms, because in the next scene he like hugs her or whatever when he's on the ground with her. Like,
yeah, and he like tried to grab his phone to call 911 before he sat down, and he dropped it in the shower.
It was right fucking next to him.
It was right next to him, yeah. Well, I guess I don't know what it feels like to have a heart attack. Maybe the writers, they know so much about like how old ladies are and how how straight and gay people are. They know a lot about that, so maybe they know a lot about how it feels to have a heart attack too.
Yeah, if there's anybody I trust, based on what we've seen so far, it's definitely the writers of this show. A lot of doctors on that staff. A lot of
I'd like to see it. I'd like to hire them to write something for me, or just like any person, and see how they do it.
It would just be the most woke shit ever.
It really just, they just write a caricature of whatever they think that thing is.
They just exaggerate something. So what they would probably do is make you say something that could be like offensive to someone. And then they put you like put a group of those people around you, and then they make a super woke awkward moment.
Fuck, that's their specialty, is making super woke awkward moments. Woke moment. We should have got a soundboard for this, and with the woke moment on it, that would be amazing.
I can put it on top of it.
Oh, yeah.
I can add it.
Woke moment. Woke moment.
Oh, I gotta mention something. Oh, okay. So when she tries to help her husband, right, when she's like laying on the ground, it was the weirdest camera switch I've ever seen in my life. It was at 41 minutes 34 seconds. It's just her husband's fucking dying on the floor, right? Let me paint the picture, and it just cuts to her feet, just like a shot of her feet.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like
her feet.
Yeah, just her feet, and it was like, what the fuck, like. It made no sense. Like, it was like this dramatic, like, oh, she's trying to help him, blah, blah, blah. Like, he's dying. And then it's like, look at her feet.
Well, yeah, dude. They take a lot of influence from Tarantino, I guess. The long dialogue, and they're, like, shooting feet for no reason.
And I figured out why they did it, too. Because before she went to the concert, she's like, oh, I'm wearing the wedding shoes. And but it's still a fucking incredibly stupid choice, because why would you feel a need to highlight that fact while you're helping someone dying? I don't know. It doesn't make sense. It's done in a terrible way.
I feel like the writers just think like, oh, you're supposed to have things earlier that tie in later, that you show again later. And I guess like that is a good way of like, I don't know, of like making the whole story fit together and making it meaningful. But you can't just be like, she's wearing these shoes right now, and whoa, she's still wearing these shoes. Oh my god.
It was like that Black Panther scene. What are those?
No, did they do that? I never saw that movie.
They did. They did.
Wow, that's funny.
Yeah, but. And can we just say it was the worst death scene I've ever seen? He shouldn't be moving that much. He was moving way too much.
Dude, I don't know. It was pretty bad. What a fucking. That's a really shitty way to go. You're on your exercise bike, like jerking off to the exercise instructor, and you have a heart attack. I guess that's they really know a lot about old people. Like,
yeah, I mean, and just like that, we're off to an awful fucking start to the show.
And you were saving that, huh? That's nice.
Yeah. Because at the end of this episode, she's like, and just like that, Big died, and I was like, wow.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, Big dies. Or I feel like that's not even a big spoiler. The bigger spoiler than that is spoiler alert, Big masturbates on camera. I feel like that's a bigger spoiler. That's more shocking.
Yeah. Honestly,
or spoiler alert, they ruined the show.
The show's fucking ruined.
It's really bad. And just like that.
It's like the last season of Game of Thrones where it makes you never want to watch like the first season, like the show again. This is what this is going to do to Sex and the City, to any fans out there.
Dang.
Because it's that bad. You're going to be like, oh, this is what all those characters are just meant to be part of woke moments.
All of, like 6 seasons and 2 movies led up to this. Like, this is what all those 6 seasons and 2 movies were for, so that the characters could just become woke moment, like woke moment RC cars.
It's
the writers are just holding their remote control and driving the RC cars through the woke moment ramp and loop de loop.
It's honestly, it does feel like they circle, like the writers are like, how do we reuse the same energy for each scene? Because they really try to like, it's like they're so full of themselves. They're like, how do we make this relate back to woke culture once again, over and over, every fucking scene?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, there's like a lot of shows and movies that are trying to do that. That's why this show is very timely. Like, this is almost the culmination of that, like, mistake in writing. You know what I mean?
It definitely
like,
captures.
I've never seen it done so badly.
Yeah, overall, episode 1, fucking abysmal start to the show.
Really spectacular stuff. Very experimental, very challenging. It was challenging to not change the show, to not stop watching. And if that's not experimental, then I don't know what is. And I tip my hat to the writers and the directors for having the audacity to make such a program.
Yeah, if you're looking for a show that's anti-music and just all dialogue, watch this.
Yeah, it's almost like the television equivalent of No Country for Old Men. I'd compare it to that in terms of style and quality, probably.
That's my favorite scene is when he masturbates in No Country for Old Men for his wife.
Wait, no, he doesn't actually do that, does he?
I don't know. I don't think so.
No, he doesn't. Yeah. But yes, so it's almost like if Quentin Tarantino wrote and Ridley Scott directed No Country for Old Men, that's kind of what the Sex and the City reboot is.
Those are both good people, though. I don't know. I feel like you're giving them too much credit. It's like the worst versions of those people.
That's what I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a horrible, terrible version of that, like, conglomeration.
Yeah, but overall, I mean, do you want to give a rating here?
Out of 10, I give it a dang. Like, I don't know if I add points for it being so, because I feel like I've never really seen anything like it. Like, the closest thing maybe I can compare it to is The Room.
Ooh.
So I don't know if I give it points for being so, like, perplexing. Like, it really made me think, because it was so, I don't know, dude, like.
Now I'm just imagining Tommy Wiseau's wife asking him to masturbate for her podcast. Oh my god.
Good lord. Like, you're tearing me apart, Lisa. And he's making that weird fucking face that he's making.
He's making noises like over the top.
Yeah. Out of 10, I'm feeling, dude, okay, I'm giving it a 1 out of 10, but I'm also giving it a 5 out of 10. just for like enjoyability, I give it the because there's something enjoyable about it being so bad. That's what I'm trying to express. This is one of the worst shows I've ever seen, and because of that, I there's some part of me that enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 1 out of 10. And just like you were talking about, I mean, this is a show, like, when you brought this up at that party we went to, I was losing my fucking mind because I watched the show with a girl who was insisting that I was being negative and, like, it was a good show, and then we ended up pausing. We got in a huge disagreement about it. She was like, oh, you're just being, like, you're being over the top. And I was like, no,
Yeah,
this
dude.
is genuinely the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. And we talked about it, and I was losing my shit because this is, you know,
This was the deal
part of the
breaker.
reason I stopped
Holy
talking to her.
shit.
Not gonna lie.
Well, yeah, dude, it's like I said, people are gonna be like, you can't make fun of this because you don't actually understand it. You like don't know the culture of the Sex and the City. You didn't see the first show. Look, this is one of the worst pieces of television dog shit I've ever seen in my whole life.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of other famous reboots of shows. I mean, and it's not like just because you didn't watch the first like part of them doesn't mean the second part needs to be dog shit. Okay, like that's not a thing. But yeah, and I'm gonna give it a 1 out of 10.
1 out of 10. Yeah, I'm gonna split the difference, and I'm gonna give it a 2.5.
Just because that woke moment sound effect, I think I'll give it a 1.
Yeah. It's a solid, fair enough reason. There are plenty of reasons in there to make it 1 worthy.
Overall,
anyways,
just an unnerving amount of never-ending dialogue.
yeah.
And I'm so excited for episode 2 because I've seen it before, but I'm gonna rewatch it because I know it gets even worse.
Oh yeah. It's only well, no, I feel like it's only uphill from here. There's no way it could get worse.
You would think. You would think.
Oh no. Well, anyways, yeah, let's wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up. Well, thanks for listening to whatever we decide to call this.
Yeah.
Yeah. See.
The woke mo. What was their podcast called in the show? Let's just call it that.
Oh, actually, good idea. It's X, Y, and Me.
This is the XY and Me podcast. Thank you so much for listening.